The agreement between the US and Iran, reached by Donald Trump, sparked a real mass protest in the United States of America, particularly among his own fervent supporters from the MAGA movement. This is how the American media are reporting it. President Trump's Iran deal has opened an explosive second front in the civil war among Trump supporters, unleashed by hawkish allies who see U.S. concessions as an existential betrayal of Israel and the United States of America itself. Well, for Donald Trump, this story could end very badly, because now the president's most important conservative supporters, who supported the entire war against Iran, have suddenly seen the light and are asking, what kind of deal is this? What kind of betrayal is this? Basically, they're saying, let's get rid of Trump. But I'll say right away, they've already found someone to blame in the White House, and all the failures will be pinned on one interesting person. Let's discuss what's American about this, and how the media and the right-wing supporters are reacting. My name is Alexei Pichi, and let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and don't forget to leave your comment under this video. And subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, the link to it is in the description of this video. I'll start the episode with a quote from Axios. Across 2 terms and 11 years in the political spotlight, no issue has divided Donald Trump's supporters as much as the war with Iran. When the American strikes on Iran began, leading isolationists like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene were excommunicated from the church. Trump was criticized for allegedly abandoning the principles of America First in favor of Israel. 3 months later, when a temporary agreement was reached and peace seemed to be within reach, the Republican hawks who had cheered Trump on in this fight were now leading their own fierce rebellion. To rephrase, both camps of the MAGA movement suddenly ended up at odds with each other. Now, U.S. conservatives who support Israel are demanding to see the text of Trump's memorandum with Iran, expressing dissatisfaction both with the secrecy of the deal and its alleged contents. They say, if the agreement with Iran is so great and truly reflects the interests of the United States, then why not show it publicly to the American people before it is signed in Geneva on Friday? Why hide it? But if the agreement is really great, if the deal is really great, show it to the American people. Now the White House is fueling the fire. At first they said that the text of the agreement would be published publicly on Tuesday or Wednesday. But already on Wednesday, Donald Trump said that this might happen on Friday, meaning the publication of the agreement, but only after the official signing ceremony in Geneva. And now the MAGA movement, just like the Republican leadership in Congress, is wondering why this document wasn't even shown to them, even to the congressmen, before it was signed. By the way, the same goes for Israel, which, despite participating in the ceasefire agreement, still hasn't received an official copy of the Memorandum of Understanding. On Tuesday, Trump fueled the negative reaction by praising the Iranian negotiators during a bilateral meeting with the Emir of Qatar, a key mediator in the negotiations who, by the way, is not trusted by many pro-Israel Republicans, but izraelski respublikanci. No, MAGA activists were absolutely furious when Trump started praising the Iranians as super skilled diplomats. Here's a quote from Trump. "We are dealing with people who, in my opinion, are very rational. It's pleasant to deal with Iranian officials. They are not radicalized, they just want to help their country." Well, and then the right-wing Republicans suddenly asked, well, if these guys are so great, then why did Donald Trump himself previously call them terrorists or the Iranian regime? Well, these are great guys who, quote, just want to help their country. The objections of Trump's allies who support Israel mostly fall into 3 categories. First, the Memorandum of Understanding will allow Iran to immediately start selling oil, pave the way for lifting sanctions, unfreezing funds, and creating a $300 billion reconstruction fund at the next stage of nuclear negotiations. American officials emphasize that financial aid will be tied to compliance with the terms of the agreement, but hardliners are outraged at the very thought of money going to Tehran and say, wait, Trump criticized Barack Obama so loudly for once giving $400 million to Tehran, and now we're going to give Iran even more money. Are you out of your mind? Second, months of overwhelming military force have paralyzed Iran's nuclear infrastructure and its conventional military defenses. And now hardliners argue that by entering a 60-day negotiation window and lifting the naval blockade now, Trump is losing unprecedented leverage over Iran. And third, critics reject the assumption that Iran can be persuaded to become more moderate. This concern is shared with Trump's government, by the way. And the day before, let me remind you, I talked about this on this YouTube channel, that the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, John Ratcliffe, Trump. And the day before, let me remind you, I talked about this on this YouTube channel, that the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, John Ratcliffe, warned Donald Trump about serious doubts within American intelligence regarding Tehran's willingness to make the nuclear concessions necessary not just for the current memorandum, but for a final agreement. As a result, even those from the MAGA movement who supported Donald Trump at the beginning of the war now have no idea what's going on. Well, for example, Fox News commentator Mark Thiessen called the prospect of giving Iran $300 billion a disaster. Quote, "It's like offering Germany a Marshall Plan during World War II while the Nazis were still in power." And you know, it's funny how other Trump supporters from the Republican Party are behaving. For example, Senator Lindsey Graham stated that Trump is not at fault in any case, and called on the architect of this deal, that is Vice President J.D. Vance, to appear in Congress to explain what kind of deal you are signing there. You understand? So now all the blame will not fall on Trump, no, but on J.D. Vance, who, by the way, let me remind you, was actually against starting a war with Iran back in February of this year. He said, "Don't go to war. Why do we need this war? What's the point of it?" Now, the irony is that it will be Vance who is blamed for this. In short, now all the blame will fall on J.D. Vance. Well, it's no coincidence that Trump is sending J.D. Vance to sign this very deal with the Iranians in Geneva on Friday. And here's what Axios writes, quote, "J.D. Vance may end up being more vulnerable to the political consequences of this deal than Donald Trump himself, who can always present himself as the president who stood up to Iran when no one else dared." Defending the deal on Tuesday on Megyn Kelly's show, Vance rejected the criticism from hardliners, stating that they want an endless conflict that will continue until every Iranian is dead, and then called on skeptics from the MAGA movement to stay in the coalition. The risk that J.D. Vance will face in 2028 is that he will inherit both sides of the divide. On one hand, a war that has alienated the isolationists and MAGA supporters, and on the other hand, a deal that has angered its hardline supporters. And finally, I'll share a very interesting quote from conservative commentator Ben Shapiro, who said the following: "If the president signs a bad deal, many of us who welcomed him and supported him, considering his actions in Iran heroic, will be extremely disappointed." But as you can tell, Trump won't be to blame. J.D. Vance will be the one to blame. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. There you'll find Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, even crypto wallets, bank details, and YouTube sponsorship. Choose any format that's convenient for you. I'll be grateful for any support you give. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.